Good afternoon, welcome to the Midday Mull for Wednesday, the 23rd of September. Continuing to reflect on the book of Ezekiel. Yesterday, we reflected on Ezekiel's vision where he is taken to the temple and to the inner part of the temple where he saw on the walls all kinds of unclean creatures depicted and all sorts of idols. And then there were 72 elders offering incense in worship to these foreign gods. And it just showed that Israel, the leadership, had gone wrong. But when the leadership goes wrong, it affects everyone else. And so the vision continues in verse 14. Then he brought me to the entrance of the north gate of the house of the Lord, and I saw women sitting there, mourning the god Tammuz. He said to me, "Do you see this, son of man? You will see things that are even more detestable than this." Now Tammuz was a Babylonian fertility god. And from what I can make out, the belief was that as dieback happened at the end of summer, people believed that that was a sign of Tammuz dying. And then you had to pray and I don't know, give offerings and things to bring him back to life in the spring so that you'd have an abundance. And clearly this had influenced the people of Israel, and how were the women worshipping this fertility god from Babylon. But it wasn't only them. We continue. In verse 16, he then brought me into the inner court of the house of the Lord, and there at the entrance to the temple, between the portico and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs towards the temple of the Lord, and their faces towards the east. They were bowing down to the sun in the east. And so you have these people involved in worshipping the sun, moon, and stars. And what you see is that when the leadership starts getting things wrong, when the head goes wrong, the rest follows. Which is why, as a church, we always say we have a head, and that is Christ, because Christ will never go wrong. And we need to see that the rest of the leadership of the church remains faithful, because when the leadership goes wrong, it doesn't take long for the rot to spread through the whole body. And so it needs to be our constant prayer that leadership would be solid and good, of the country, of the nations, but especially of the church, locally and in the community. And so I keep praying for the leadership of the church. We need it. And as the world has more and more influence, we need it more and more. That the leadership of the church will remain faithful to the Word of God. And when the leadership is solid, the people will find it that much easier to be solid. But as I said yesterday, always remember our head is Christ, not the human leadership of the church. We always follow Christ and Him only. So hold on to that, be faithful to that, and know God's blessing.